Well, g'day everyone and welcome back to the vlog. Very special one today. I'm down here in Victoria at a place that I've always wanted to visit, the 12 Apostles. Now, I thought I would bring you guys along on a little photography adventure. I'm coming here tonight. It's an hour before sunset at the moment. I want to go down and capture some photos of them as the sun's setting. A little bit cloudy at the moment, so hopefully we can get something. And then I'm going to come back again tomorrow morning, switch up the light, and we're going to go to a few different locations. So that sounds interesting. Let's go. Now, you may be saying to yourself, but Mike, you're not a landscape photographer. And you'd be right. I'm not a vlogger either, but here I am, having a go. I believe that we should be, just trying things, practicing things. I'm a photographer, so photography is all about knowing how to capture light, try new things, experimenting. You get better through practicing. So any photography is good photography. I posted something on my Instagram the other day about me doing street photography just because I wanted to go and try it. So I think that there was a good reception to that because a lot of people feel the same way too. They just love photography, going out there and practicing things and trying new things, whether you're being paid for it or not. Just go and try photography. We all love it. I'm not much of a huge reaction person, so I'm not going to give you like a wow, look at that, but I'll swing you around. This is what we're dealing with at the moment here. I've got the tripod set up, and in my mind I'm kind of like, this is a shot that's been taken 1,000 times. How do you find a new composition? That's what I'm always struggling with. Sometimes it's okay to stick with a composition that looks good to you. Just because someone else has already taken it doesn't mean it's the same conditions, the smm lighting, the same camera, the same lens, everything else that goes into it. I'm currently shooting long exposures on the Nikon Z6III. I've got the 14 to 30mm f4 lens for the Z mount. I've also stacked it with an 8-stop ND filter to allow me to get a long exposure to really smooth out the water. I want to really create that effect of smoothing the water with the sun hitting them nice at this hour of the day. So 8-stop ND is doing that nicely, giving me about a 10 to 15 second exposure depending on the light coming through the clouds there. I think it looks quite nice, but again, there's so much that could go into this, and you can chop and change your composition and where you're standing and how you're shooting it with the settings as well. But I'm pretty happy with where I am. F8, 10 seconds. And just as quickly as I said that, I'm off again because the sun is getting low on the horizon and I want to hit one more spot before the sun goes down. So let's snap to there. Does anyone else do this, or is it just me? Leave yourself no time when you're going out to sunset. The sun's about to set, you're not in your location yet. I'm running down these stairs. These are the Gibson steps. I'm on the way down to the beach here at the 12 Apostles. Capture a look out back towards it, but the sun is about 10 minutes from the horizon. I better go. I tell you what, I've been a wedding photographer for the better part of 4 years, and I think that chasing sunsets is still more stressful than weddings. Like, people that tell you that wedding photography is stressful, yes, maybe, but if you know what you're doing, you get in there, you've done it a million times, everything sticks to a schedule, as a plan. With this, there's no plan. Like, clouds are moving, the like locations I've chosen may change. There's so much going on, it may not be a good sunset, I don't know, but I've got to get there, and tell you what, my heart is beating right now. Alright, so I made it to the spot, not quite the sunset I was hoping for. Clouds on the horizon, they just came up as the sun was setting in that last 15 minutes, were creeping over, so couldn't get a sun. I was hoping for a bit of a sun flare past one of these big rocks here in the background, but couldn't get it. Managed to get something, I think. The sun is still going down. I'm just shooting along the edge of the water at the moment, shooting that way, and hopefully we can get something nice. I'm not kidding, the leg on my tripod just fell off when I picked it up. Got stuck in the sand and came straight out, so I'm only down to 2 legs that are stuck in at the moment. The other one is just like flopping around a little bit. Any tripod brands want to send me a new tripod, that would be amazing. I'm in desperate need of a new one anyway. I don't use much I don't use a tripod very often. As a photographer that does mostly portraits, I'm not ever using a tripod, but for this, I kind of do need one. I didn't really explain much before about why I was using an ND filter and a tripod hand in hand as well, to be able to extend your shutter speed past something that you could comfortably hand hold without having too much camera shake. So if you're kind of going below 1/30th of a second, 1/20th of a second, tripod is always advisable. And then if you want to get really long shutter speeds, hard to do that in broad daylight without having an ND filter. You can only push your aperture so far. You know, f/16, maybe f/22. You don't want to go too far with your aperture. After that, you need an ND filter. So an ND filter is basically like sunglasses for your camera. We throw that on there to allow us to extend our shutter speed even more. You imagine if you put a darkening sort of filter on the front of your camera, it allows you to open the exposure for longer. So when we talk about an 8-stop ND filter, that just means I can open the exposure 2 to the power of 8 times longer. So I'm sort of doubling my exposure 8 times. So, you know, that allows me to really smooth out the water when I'm using a tripod. With the ocean here in the background, if I'm doing sort of waterfalls like I did the other day, allows me to smooth those out. Any moving parts are going to become smoother and just blur out. The same with the clouds in the sky as well. I think it creates a really dramatic effect, a really nice look in landscape imagery. So thought I'd just explain that. I'm just frantically running around looking for nice compositions. Tried to find this one here going back the other way. All of a sudden though, I've got no one else on this beach. There were about 20 to 30 people down here before. Now because it's like 10 minutes after sunset, everyone's gone. But this is blue hour and still a nice time to take images. And I think adds nice contrast to a gallery. You're taking a few different photos to have transition throughout the day. I think it's nice. So we've got the ones before bright sunlight, then the ones on sunset, then the ones in blue hour can look dramatically different from the other ones before. So always try staying around a bit longer than everyone else. As much as I'm a sucker for an ND filter, I thought I'd take it off and just capture some fast motion of the ocean. It's looking really ferocious down here at the moment, so I thought I'd take a few snaps pretty fast and maybe we can blend a few together. Let's see. I now have to make the long climb back up to the car. It's getting pretty dark, pretty late. I've got to go home, rest up, and coming back out again tomorrow morning because I want to capture it in some different light again, with the sunrise coming from the opposite direction. So that'll be interesting to see how that sort of lights up the rock face at that time of day, coming out again tomorrow because we're off tomorrow morning, sort of mid-morning. So I want to come out for sunrise and really check it out. So I will catch you guys again in the morning. Good morning everyone. It is way too early and way too cold, but we are back out here again this morning to take some photos. You know, I'm not much of a sunrise guy, to be honest. Over the past few years I don't really get up for sunrise much anymore, but I thought I'm in such a nice location and why not come out. Horrible sunrise though. At the moment it's just cloudy all around. Let me swing you guys around and show you what we're looking at. Back here, that's where I'm at this morning, trying to take a photo down this way with the sun rising in that direction. I don't know that we're going to get much poking through, maybe, but let's try it out, see what we get. Here I've got the setup again. I'm at about 24mm here, so pretty wide, not ultra wide, but pretty wide. Enough to get the landscape in, just aiming down this way at the ocean. I've been at an aperture of f8 because I like f8 because everything is in focus and it's probably the sharpest aperture on this lens. Every lens has an aperture which is the maximum sharpness. f8 to f11 is normally that range, so that's where I'm at the moment. ISO 100 to try to keep down a lot of the noise in the image. I don't need extra brightness because it's pretty bright here this morning already. And I'm only getting a shutter speed of half a second. That's as slow as I can put the shutter speed without overexposing the image. which looks kind of nice, and I'll give you guys an example now what that looks like. But for me, I'd rather blur out the ocean, so I'm going back to the ND filter. So I'm going to pop this one on the lens. You can imagine if I pop that on there, it gets quite dark pretty quickly. So I'm going to pop that on the lens. Hot tip for that is already have your exposure already calculated, so then you can work out what your exposure is going to be for the ND filter depending on how many stops, and also have your focus set already. It's very hard to get focus through an ND filter, so make sure you get your focus set your camera to manual focus, then dial in your settings after that. I'm using an 8-stop ND filter, so from my original exposure, which was half a second on the shutter speed, the way to calculate your updated shutter speed once you put your ND filter on is I have to double my shutter speed 8 times. So from half a second, if I go double that shutter speed, that's 1 second. If I double it again, 2 seconds. Double it again, 4 seconds. I do that 8 times, and I get a shutter speed of around 2 minutes. So that's what I'm going to be using on this exposure, and we're going to see, hopefully the exposures are pretty similar through the photos, but this one should have the ocean really blurred out. I was getting a bit over wide angle lenses, so I've switched over to the 85mm, try to get something a bit tighter, just for a different composition to change things up. I'm not a landscape photographer, so I don't have a lot of different lenses. I've only got an 85-35 on me, or the 14-30. So 85 is as long as I've got, so that's what I'm on at the moment. Trying to get a different composition. It's been nice, but I think I'm going to head off soon. Well, thanks for coming along with me on this photography adventure, guys. It was a good one, a very fun one. Definitely, you know, a dream location for me for landscape photography here in Australia anyway. A spot that I've always wanted to come to, but have never been able to get to up until this point. So very glad that I finally made it here today, and glad that you guys were able to come along with me. If you guys enjoyed this style of video, please do let me know. I'm enjoying making the vlogs. It's been a little bit interesting for me to change things up, but if you guys are enjoying them, I would love to keep creating them. So do let me know in the comments below if that is something that you guys would be interested in. Otherwise, I will see you guys probably on another video sometime soon. Who knows what it'll be about, but if you've got any suggestions, let me know.